Alhamdulillah, salatu wasalam, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, my dear beloved brothers and sisters. I'd like to welcome you to another one of our programs. And I really don't want to lecture. I want this to be interactive, as interactive as possible. So I would like to hear from you. You can type in your questions or suggestions or comments. I want to say a few things, and then I would like to hear from you personally. I think the time for a lot of talking is over. As we see what's happening in the world today, it is essential for us to begin to take action. And of course, that action first starts at home. This virus, we need to look at realities of it, and the realities start with us. I can read the Quran, ayats, I can read the hadith of Prophet ﷺ. We need to look at ourselves and see how this has impacted me, how it's impacted my thinking in my life. Am I afraid? Number one. There's nothing wrong with being afraid, but what am I afraid of? Am I afraid of being sick? Am I afraid ultimately I'm going to die? Because let's look at these things. On one side, for us, the Prophet ﷺ said more or less something to the extent that for the believer, something as small as pricking his finger becomes a means of forgiveness for sins. So something that small is for believers a reward. The mother are worrying for a child. Your mother never stops worrying about you. If your mother's 100 and you're 80, she's still going to call you and say, son, daughter, are you eating? Are you taking care of yourself? You don't look too good. She's never going to stop worrying about you. So she's always going to get that reward, which Allah has given her naturally, that natural instinct and concern for her children. You die. This is a disease. Inshallah, for the believers, this becomes a means of you entering Jannah. So it's not that we wish to die. It's not that we don't take the steps to prepare ourselves or to do the things that we should do. But we need to put things in perspective. We're not kuffar. We're not non-believers. We're believers. But we see that many of us, due to the quality of our iman, that we're in total fear. So as a result of that, we're not responding. On top of that, it just came out of Ramadan, the month of forgiveness, the month of mercy from Allah. And now we're in Shawwal, where Allah has given us extra reward for fasting this 6 more days if we fast in Ramadan. And that it becomes the equivalent of fasting for a whole year. What is it that we want as Muslims? What has happened is that unfortunately our hearts have become contaminated by dunya. And I'm not attacking the dunya, and I'm not attacking anybody who has a lot of dunya, or people who have a lot of knowledge or information about dunya. I'm not attacking anybody. But all of us need to look at our own souls. We need to look at the condition of our own souls. What are we told? Allah will not change the condition of the people until they change what is in their own hearts. We need to look at our hearts. This is what this whole thing is about. Allah has put us in a situation where we should look deeply into ourselves, deeply into the situation of our families. In our society here in the UAE, the men spend a lot of time working, a lot of time away from their families. So men in many instances don't have much time with their families. Now, and of course, some of the men, because they're not adjusted to that, they can't adjust to being in their houses. They're so accustomed to running here and there, they can't adjust to their houses and adjust to what's going on. And to some of the things that they see in the house, they don't agree with, and they don't have the time or energy now to, or the know-how, how to correct it. So the house in chaos. Instead of looking and say, okay, I've been away, I see some things here, we need to start sitting down and making some corrections in this right now. I'm here now. Allah has brought me here for this time. I need to use this time and try to do what? Unify the hearts of my family. So if we're looking at, we have to look at both sides of this equation. Where do we presently stand in relationship to what's happening? Has this thing united the hearts of our family? Has it united the hearts of our community? Or has it become a barrier between us? Or are we doing more about it because we're afraid that our hearts have been separated from the masjid? The person who, the other side of the equation, listen, the person who was regular in the masjid and now the masjid is closed and now he still does his best to make his salat and jamaat in his house, he's getting the same reward because that's what he did. If he dies in that condition, that was always his intention. That was where his feet took him. Our belief system is not like the kuffar. We must understand that. The kuffar, everything they say is cause and effect. What if you do this? It's going to be what is scientific? What is logic? Islam is not based on logic. It doesn't mean that it's not logical. Allah doesn't need logic. Allah is above and beyond logic. Allah has created logic. It is not necessary for him to use the things which are logical. And we have many, many examples of where Allah has done things which are illogical to prove the people his power and who he is. So we, the slaves of Allah, we need to wake up. We need to look at what's happening. And as you see, things are evolving very rapidly. And this is one of the signs of the last days. The time will be short. The time will run rapidly. We need to take care and pay attention. First with our families. Second with our communities. Thirdly with our nations. And then with the world. Allah has given the Muslims the answers for all of the problems. Allah has given the solutions in his kitab, in his book, for every single thing that we need in this life, and more importantly, in the hereafter, things which we are not aware and conscious of. But we have to turn to it regularly, consistently. We've been told what? Very simply, Allah loves the action that his slave does regularly, meaning the simple action that he does on a daily basis for the pleasure of Allah. Not the thing that he's doing to please other people or for the media or for people to say he's a great man or she's a great woman or she's doing so much. No. The thing that he does quietly for the pleasure of Allah. So I'm requesting all of our brothers and sisters, take time out now, if you haven't been doing it, reflect on your present status with Allah, as though tomorrow will be your last day on this earth. Maybe we will never get the chance and opportunity what we're having here today. People are frothing at the mouth to get back to work, get back to routine, because they're afraid of their economic situation and status. They think that going back to work is going to change that status. That's fiction. It's fiction. Well, if I don't go to work, I won't have money. Maybe Allah's going to give you another job. Maybe Allah's going to give you some business. Maybe Allah's going to have somebody knock on your door and give you some money. Allah's in control. Everything has been written for you. How you receive it has been determined by Allah. If you work 7 days a week, 20 hours a day, you will not get one more dirham than Allah has written for you. If you work 1 day a week, 16 hours. And that's hard for people to conceive of. If you don't believe it, ask any businessman. Every businessman I've ever asked, I said, don't you know, aren't you aware of the fact that in 1 day, you may have worked for a whole month trying to do business and nothing really happened. And then in 1 day, you did enough business to cover your whole month or possibly the whole year. Every businessman knows a situation like this. So why does that distinguish us from this? We need to understand this. So one of our biggest enemies is the fear of death and the love of dunya. The fear of death and the love of the material things of the world. And this is natural for us to love the things of the world. It doesn't mean that we should like them or we should use them or we should have them. But there's distinction when we become dissolved in them. And we don't dissolve ourselves or submerge ourselves in the worship of Allah. We choose to submerge ourselves in worldly things, knowingly or unknowingly. And as a result, we put the law has offered us on the side, or on what we call the back burner. This is very dangerous for us. So I want everyone right now, take a piece of paper, put a line down the middle or fold it. On one side, write what it is that you want to do from today. What you want to do to move forward with your life. On the other side of the paper, what are the things that are keeping you from doing it? I'll repeat. Right side, what are the things you want to do from today to move forward, to come closer to Allah, to be more obedient to Allah? On the left side of the page, write the things that are keeping you from doing this. So let's take a few minutes, and people, you can start sending in your suggestions, your questions, your criticisms from now. Thank you. I don't want to spend, really, I don't have the desire to do a lot of talking these days. We have too much talking. We have a lot of very good brothers and sisters out there, very knowledgeable. And now on these webinars, they're talking about every subject under the sun. So there's something there for everybody. And they're much better than me, much more knowledgeable than me. So I want to just keep this short and sweet and to the point. And I want to be about action. Don't write anything that you're not willing, ready, and able to take action on. Otherwise, we're just theorizing, we're sitting here, just taking up some time, talking. And unfortunately, this is what most people are doing today. Sitting and drinking coffee and tea and talking. And the clock is ticking. People need answers. People need solutions. And then they need to accept and look at these solutions in relationship to their lives, make adjustments, and move forward. Make istikhara, make shura with responsible people, and move forward. Or we'll find ourselves stuck in many, many dilemmas, in situations which we could not imagine. So please, send now. I'm waiting. I'm not going to talk anymore until I receive something. Nobody said anything? Yeah, I'm finished.
Repeat the questions, please.
Repeat the question. On one side of your paper, Write what it is that you want today to move forward with your life. On the other side of the paper or on another paper, right? What is it that's keeping you from doing that? So what is it we want to do? We want to bridge the gap from the things that are keeping people from taking the steps that they want to step, and talk about the steps that they need to take to move forward. But if you don't communicate with me, I'm just talking in the abstract. I don't want to talk in abstract. Just to talk, to hear myself talk. There's no value in that for me personally. I don't need that. It's not good for me. It's not good for you. Just talking just to talk. There's no validity in that. There's no benefit in it. But if we're talking about real situations, we're talking about real solutions, then okay, we can kind of dig into these things and see how we can help each other. This will be beneficial for me, and hopefully it'll be beneficial for someone else. But just for me to sit here and talk, there's too much talk. Too much talk today with the Muslims. Not enough action. Too much talk. Okay, we have very nice. Okay, so here let's look for this. One of the brothers says, I would like to develop a case of Muslims do more good deeds and actions in their daily life. What's holding me back is funding to make the idea into a reality. So that's a good thing. An app, and this is something, of course, that I would like to participate in. An app that offers solutions. So you have a problem, you go to the app, you hit, my problem is 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3 solutions come up for that problem to help you jumpstart. Then on top of that, what you have is a means of communicating with someone who will be able, like a hotline, to speak specifically about your situation, because it could be anywhere in the world, which may take a lot more dialogue, because there may be many things that go along. It may not be very simple, it may be complex, there may be many points, and many of those points may be something different than what we're accustomed to here. So that's a great idea. So the brother's saying, if there's anybody interested, and I'm saying that he didn't say it, I'm sorry. If there's anyone interested in this kind of thing and has an idea of how to get funding for it, then get in touch with us, let us know, and we'll get in touch with the brother and put you in touch with him, and let's start working on this as a project. And actually, I think it's a good project, and it's actually something that I've been thinking about myself. I don't have the technical side of it, but in terms of the skill set, in terms of dealing with problems, some problems and some answer problems, I can deal with some of them. And then we have many people here in the UAE who have the capacity to deal with a vast number of situations, that we can tie into those people and be able to deal with these problems that people have globally. I think it's a great idea. So anybody who thinks that they can help in any way, please get in touch with us, JLNC, and let us know, inshallah. Jazakallah khair. Barakallah feek. Anybody else? That's one question. This is a very, very important question. Very important. It's a really sign of the time. Thank you, brother. I would like to base all my life decisions on Islamic principles, but there are so many other influences and distractions, such as culture, family, environment, upbringing, fake news, and so on. Okay, one of the issues today, even with all the technology that we have, is to find a proper sheikh. The solution for this is to find a proper sheikh and to sit with him and to make consultation with him in relationship to the things that you're doing in your life. When I was a new Muslim, I had the opportunity to sit with one mufti, and I asked him, I said, listen, I live in America, and we don't have much ulama in America. I know that even though I'm a new Muslim, and how, there's certain things, how would I go about doing it? He told me, he says, well, if you want, you can write to me, but I suggest you find some ulama in America and, try to spend time with them and stay in touch with them. And then he gave me guidelines. He said, you have to respect all of the ulama, but look for the people that you see in their daily, not that you're judging anyone. Look for the people who you see in their daily habits, the sunnah. You see in their character, in the way they treat people, how they interact regularly, that you see the sunnah in their life. These are the people who you trust. So I suggest the same thing to you, brother. Find the ulama wherever you are. And if you are not in a place where there are any ulama, then contact us and we will try to locate someone or some people who are close to you, because we're dealing with people all over the world, who you can sit with, or if not, at least now it's easy to communicate with them. We know many of the ulama in the world today, particularly those who are English speaking, because it's difficult for our people who are not English speaking. And also, to be fair, many of the people, particularly if we're dealing with Western people, they haven't lived in the West. So there's a lot of differences between growing up and living in Western society and civilization and other societies. And that's just real. So it's important to sit with the ulama without question. And inshallah ta'ala, if you make the intention, for sure, Allah will make it easy for you, inshallah. Nobody who really wants to organize his life on the Quran and Sunnah, wherever he might be, Allah will not facilitate it for him. And we should believe that. And I'm proof of it. Okay? I'm proof of it. I'm born and raised in New York City. I'm an American, all right? And I'm here in the UAE. And I've been in the Middle East for more than 30 years. So, and I'm not a special person. I'm just a regular guy. Barakallah feed jazakallah khair, brother. And it's water. Okay, sister, this is a very nice question. I would like to understand my role as a Muslimah, daughter, wife, and mother. But I find it difficult because the roles of men and women have become so overlapped. And it's difficult to be clear on our roles in the family. It's not really difficult, I think, in our roles. I think that what has happened in the, let's say, the influence of modern society has imposed on the family, traditional family structure. If we understand the dynamics of that, and we understand that this, what we're seeing today, was actually a strategy that was, or let's say that we become subject to What I mean is the confusion of the roles and the changing of society and the stimulation of our desires so that we desired certain things, and because we desired certain things, it became easier if there was two incomes in the household, that this was done purposely. It's not something that just evolved. It was something that some people sat and thought through, that if there's two incomes, that means that there's going to be more things purchased. And that also from the other side, that there's more taxes that can be taken, for example. So someplace in the world, 50% of the workforce is female, as an example, or more. All right, so if we look at high unemployment, if it becomes high unemployment, then what happens to the man who's unemployed? You understand? So it becomes an imbalance in the families. And this is what is happening now. And I'm not belittling women working, I'm not belittling women being educated, but this is what happens. So as a result, what we call the traditional roles have changed. And oftentimes women are looking for men to play roles of the women, okay, which were traditional. And they say, well, there's nothing wrong with this. And they justify it by saying, well, the Prophet ﷺ was like so-and-so and so-and-so. But this may be the case. The Prophet ﷺ may have done many things in the household. As an example, and I'm not saying the man should not do that, but we need to understand something. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created both of us with qualities. Why should those qualities be in conflict with each other? Why should those qualities be complementary? If we look at our qualities and see those things, then why is it that we can't come into a commonality about how that really is? And why is it that in many instances we work outside of that commonality? And much of it, if you really look at it, is because we've been trained. We've been trained in whatever, institutionalized, however you want to look at it. And of course, there are many people, I've had this conversation before, who disagree, and of course, it's up to you to disagree. But we have proof and we have evidence about this. For example, mothers who stay at home and take care of their children. There's no comparison between the child who the mother is home with her or him and spending time with him. He's going to school, taking him every day to catch the bus, waiting for him or her to come home, sitting with them. There's no comparison. But what has happened is the working mom has become accustomed to going out to work. In many instances, dealing with children every day is not desirable. It's not easy. It's easier to go to work, make some money, and pay somebody else to do it. Come home, greet your children for a short period of time, have a good time with them, maybe help them with their homework, give them some food, put them to bed, and 1, 2, 3, we're good to go. So this is what we're experiencing. We're experiencing today, and not everybody, but much of it. In the United States, there's an organization of women who are professional women who are in favor of mothers staying home, and have all the statistics on it about the benefits of this. And they're all professionals who have worked in different capacities and came to the conclusion that this is harming my family more than this helping my family. We looked at the financial equation so that we can live a certain way, we can do these things, but in the long term, what your children gain or lose, there's no comparative analysis. And now also we have many men who expect their wives to go to work to help them with their situation. Because things are more expensive to live. We're living a different lifestyle, or we want to live a certain type of lifestyle. So what is wrong with us taking that down a step? Why is it we have to live in a 2-bedroom house? Why can't we live in a 1-bedroom house? We can't afford to live in a 1-bedroom house. Why can't we live in a 1-room house? Is it embarrassing to live in a 1-room house? As an example. Prophet ﷺ did it, his wives did it. You said, well, brother, that was in those days. They were poor, the situations like so and so and so. But reality is, let's look at the condition of the families. The other thing what the sister mentioned was, what about being a mother? What about dealing with your parents? All of these things, once you are married, husband and wife, have to sit down and discuss this. How are we going to raise our children? What are we going to say to them? What are we not going to say to them? What about our relationship? What are we going to say in front of them? And what are we not going to say in front of them? If we have arguments or disagreements, let's not shout at each other. Let's sit down and let's talk quietly. As an example, parents, if we deal with the parents and there is issues, how do we get through that? If the mother-in-law of the girl, the girl's mother doesn't get along with her husband so well, or vice versa, the wife doesn't get along with the husband's mother so well. Each one of you have to play a role, meaning you have to be in between. You know there's something there going on with your mom, then use yourself. Don't blame your husband. Don't blame your wife. You play the role of being in between to keep everything calm. Try to keep it going. This is, and try to evolve to love in the heart. Try to do the things to bring the family and bring the hearts together. And that simplifies it. So by Prophet said, more or less, giving the salams abundantly. This is a uniter of the hearts. This brings the hearts. So what does it mean? Call your mother-in-law up sometime. Hey, mom, how you doing? I just called her short, sweet. I was thinking about you. How you feeling? You all right? Everything okay? Okay. Send her a card sometime with your father-in-law, whatever it might be. How you doing? I saw this nice card. I thought about you. I know you would like it. These kind of simple things carry a lot of weight. It's very simple, but it carries a lot of weight because it's about the hearts, isn't it? It's about winning the hearts. And this is your family. This is, all right. So these are simple things, which you can do both male and female, inshallah ta'ala, okay, for the benefit of the unification and resolving some of the simple issues in our families. And Allah knows best. Okay. One sister is asking, I would like to spend more time in the path of Allah, but I fear the distractions of financial struggles and not setting up my children for the future. Spend more money in the sake of Allah, not time. Okay, spend more money. Okay, look, this is a mistake that people make, excuse me. Spending in the path of Allah is not only spending money. This is a mistake that we make. And when we talk about charity and everything else, money is only one aspect of this. There are many, many aspects of spending time in the path of Allah. So we need to look at the aspects of spending time in the path of Allah that are easy for us to do consistently. If we're looking for the rewards long term, look for the things that you can do easily, consistently. And then from time to time, maybe you can do a little more or you can do something different. Don't take for granted. We've been told that in sadaqah, for example, if you give something as small as one date in sadaqah, because that's all you have, that might be more valuable than someone who's given a ton of dates. Because that one date, maybe that's all you had. As example, that man who had a ton of dates, he never had to worry about having dates. You just had that one day. He said, well, that's all I have. I'm going to give it fi-sabilillah. So Allah might accept that more because you had, even though he gave more, but you gave what was more valuable to you. So you need to look at that in relationship to doing things for the pleasure of Allah. It's not the number, the vastness, no. It's not money, no. It's value. What value are you offering for people? What value will people get from what you're offering? And that's essential. And now the Muslims are more in need of that than anything else. Our condition is such that we need to look more and more about how to help the Muslims help themselves. Sister says, Allah help me to get out of a situation with regards to riba. Now I want to create a platform where people in need can find another Muslim who's in better financial positions to loan them money without interest, so as to avoid those people falling into haram, easy money, loans, or credit cards. I don't know where to start. It seems to be difficult, whereas it should be simple. There are some platforms that do exist. We have some brothers who are involved in Islamic finance business. So get in touch with us, and we'll try to put you in touch with those brothers. Okay, and sit with them and see if they can assist you to move forward. What it is that you have intention. This is a very good intention. Unfortunately, we have a lot of riba. A lot of people trapped in riba. A lot of people trapped, especially with credit cards. So if you have this concern, and you can help people to get away from this is a fantastic thing. It's alhamdulillah. It's a very, very great deed. It's not a small thing. If you read about riba, and I'm sure you have, it's when you read the hadith, it's not a hadith that you want to repeat. You read it and you want to cry when you see it. And it's something you will never want to repeat to someone else. So, and most of the Muslims don't know how serious riba is. They think, well, it's like this and like that, and you have to have this, you have to have that. This is modern society. How can you get along without so and so? And this is how they justify it. This is serious business. This is serious business. So, brother, get in touch with us, inshallah ta'ala, and we'll try to put you in touch with others who can do this, inshallah. Brother or sister.
Next one.
Okay.
Next one.
A sister says, I would like to lead a healthier lifestyle and eating habits for myself and my family. Is any book or source that you could recommend that would be about the Prophet's preferred foods and his good habits? Yes, there's a book about it's called the Prophetic Medicine. Prophetic medicine. But people who are Arabs usually read these things in Arabic. There's a lot more in Arabic. In English, there's only a few books here and there. But in Arabic, there's a huge wealth of material. And many of the places in the Arab world, they're still maintaining it. It's just that we don't hear about it online like we hear about all these other people, because our people don't have the desire to be as commercial. And a lot of things are cultural. People in different societies, they know all kinds of teas and herbs and stuff like that. And sister, if you get in touch with your dad, I know who this sister is right here. If you get in touch with your dad, I'm sure your dad knows plenty of people out there in the farming area. They know all kinds of things, especially the old people, those who are still living. They know all kinds of things. Okay, the same. But there's one book called Prophetic Medicine, okay, that talks about different foods. That's one. But there are many. If you start just with that, okay, and if you get in touch with me, my wife is a healthcare professional. So if you get in touch with me, she can put you in touch with some other websites and things that sisters are doing, inshallah ta'ala. Last question.
I don't know. Just written.
Okay. Yeah, this is a common one. I would like to utilize my time more productively, but I waste too much time on social media. It's hard not to become distracted. Okay, well, with the social media, as you know, we're all distracted by it one way or another. Uh, I think the best thing is set up a time. Okay? Set up a time. At this time, and you can tell everyone, this is the time frame that I'm going to use to answer social media. After this, I'll be offline. So whatever you want to send me between this time, and I'll answer you. Other than that, I won't be online. So I think that's the best way to proceed and to protect yourself. Okay, because there's the thing about these devices, there's so much on it. So there's no way you can't be interested in anything that you can be interested in, the smallest or the biggest. Okay, you have a tendency to go to this is natural. So you have to do more to protect yourself from it. And important part and parcel of that is, and sometimes just put the thing down. Just leave it home. People can't even leave it in the other room. Some people, you got to have it with them all the time. Let alone leave it home and go out without it. They're like, oh, they're going to die if they left their phone home. So get in the habit of doing that, and trying to organize your time. Just like you organize your time for everything else, organize the time for it. Notify everybody that this is the time that I'll be answering calls or WhatsApp or emails or whatever it might be, and stay in that time frame. Once that time frame is up, then go on about your business. Okay, this is sister. I want to help my non-Muslim family to open up their hearts to become Muslim. But anytime I attempt to open a conversation, anytime I attempt to open up the conversation, it goes nowhere. This is a delicate issue, okay? And sister, I sympathize with you. And believe me, I know exactly what you're saying. Okay? My family is a Christian family. And, I'm trying to do some things with them. We have, my remaining uncle is a PhD in Christian theology. One of my cousins, her husband is a minister. So my family is hardcore. My mom is 91, she's hardcore. Okay. So I know exactly what you're saying. The thing is, we have to look at this as a long-term project. Don't look at it as a short-term project. Like you're just going to give them dawah, and then after a short period of time, don't do that. Just take the opportunity when you can. First of all, let's look at what you have to set up. You have to set up your regular prayers, and the regular prayers for them, and particularly in the Qiyam al-Layl. You have to pray for them in Qiyam al-Layl seriously. I know brothers, their parents died on their parents accept Islam on their deathbed. Okay, and I know people, their parents. I had friends here. They brought their mothers here. Two of my friends, close friends, their mothers here. They were way up in their 80s. One was 90 plus. Came here. It was hard. Finally got her to come here. She lived here, and actually she passed away after him. She lived longer than him. And she accepted Islam and died as Muslim. Another one of my friends, same thing. These were my neighbors. He finally got his mother to come here. She stayed here. She died here. She died as a Muslim. So we should never give up hope. We keep praying and asking Allah. The most important thing for them is to be kind to them. Be kind. Just be kind. No matter what they say, what they do, just eat it. It's not easy, but just eat it. And just be kind to them. If you have children, let your children always call up your mother and your dad. Hi, grandma, grandpa, talk to them like this. Grandchildren have a way to the hearts more than the children do. Send them gifts. Simple, not big things, simple things. Card, something. Send them gifts. And call them regularly. And talk to them. Just talk to them about how life is, families, how you miss them. Wish you could come and visit them, they could come and visit you. Talk about how you were with your child and things that you used to do. Thank them. Thank your parents for all that they've done for you. That, you know, the person that you are today is because of the efforts that they made. The Muslim that you are today is because of whatever influences they had on you one way or another that, you know, made you head in this direction, whether it's positive or negative. So, you know, those are some suggestions. You know, and you can call us anytime that you want. If your parents ever come here, let us meet them. We can meet them for lunch or dinner or something. We love to meet people's parents. And we've always had a great response from the parents when they come. Because most importantly, parents want to know that their children are not being misguided, misled, they're not in some kind of terrorist organization, you know, that they're in something that's foundation, it's in the foundation, and it's very much a part in the fiber of the society. This is very important. And one of the works that we do is to secure people about what Islam is, what Islam is not. So that's very, very important for non-Muslim families. Because they have all these ideologies, all this misinformation that they've been fed. And we've seen, you know, this be broken down on people when they came to visit. And we enjoy that. We love it when the parents come and sit down with them. And, you know, especially we're probably in your parents' generation. So we can talk about things that we relate to when we were young. So many things that you can't. Okay, as an example. So that's my suggestion. After all this Corona stuff is over, inshallah, invite your parents, let us know, and we'll sit with them and, you know, have a little party, inshallah. And we'll pray for you also. And Allah guide you, Allah guide your parents and your family to Islam. Sound is unclear. It's okay now? Someone said sound is unclear. Can you hear that? Let's check the sound on this one. Excuse me 1 minute. Someone said sound is not clear. Check. How's that? It's okay?
It's okay now.
It's better? Okay. Maybe just sometimes the mic moves. Sorry about that. Question. I feel that I failed in my life being a good spouse. So many years of marriage, yet my other spouse has not changed in being connected with the Quran or having interest in increasing the knowledge in regards to the deen. Most of the time, the other spouse does this. It's being behind the screen, watching the worldly news, sleeps so late at night, subhanAllah. Well, let me say this to you. You need to understand something. We are dealing with adults. We're not children. And people make their own choices. And don't look at it like you failed. If you push that person and you feel like you're crowding them or you impact them, then their response will be negative. So what you do is what you've been doing. Get up in the night, pray to Allah, be kind to your spouse, make that person unable to do without you, meaning very difficult for that person to do without you. Of course, you might say, well, I'm being abused, the Turkey is taking advantage of me. But your concern is for that person's hidayat. And only Allah can give the hidayat, not you, not me. So pray more in the night. Be more supportive and encouraging. This devices are addictive. And remember, there's another thing. We are expats. And many of the people would not admit to it, but they really miss home. They miss their families, they miss their friends, they miss being home in their environment. And they're not saying that internally they feel lonely. And that loneliness leads to a kind of unhappiness. They may not be unhappy with you, but just they don't really relate to that emptiness that they're feeling because that void has not been filled. Not that you could fill it. You can't replace that with that person's connected to. And there are many, many people here like this. And they are also in denial. because they will not sit down and talk about it. And if they do talk about it, they will not admit to this truth. They're in denial about these things. And as a result of that, these situations happen. So pray for that person. You go ahead, my suggestion, tell everybody, you sit in your house and you read Quran, fix your time and your place. You sit in your house every day, do some tarbiyah, read some hadiths, something about the companions of Prophet, something about Ambiya, read it out loud. It's not like you read it out loud so your spouse can hear you, not like that. Read it out loud because this gathering, the angels are there. So that you're doing your tarbiyah for yourself with the angels. You understand? This is the other level. We need to understand our deen is on a very high level. The Prophet ﷺ was giving dawah to the jinn. Right? So we need to understand our deen is on a higher level. That whenever you come together for remembrance of Allah, what? The angels descend. They make dua for you. This is not a small thing. Man. So your house becomes like a beacon of light. When you don't have that, you got all these crazy devices, then what? Your house becomes a den for the shaitan. All right. So you need to understand that dynamic, regardless of whoever's doing whatever they're doing in the household. You cannot control another adult. And don't look at yourself as you failed. No. You have to save yourself. Allah says, save yourself from the fire. He said, yourself. Save yourself. Then he says, save your family. So if you're trying to save somebody else, but you're not trying to save yourself, what do you do? That person doesn't want to listen. Continue for the sake of your own soul. And out of love and concern, continue to invite them and to pray for them and to make effort. And Allah knows best. Sheikh, I enjoy talking about Islam to family members. Some of them do not pray salat, give zakat, etc. I sometimes feel that I am lecturing them or I am harsh in my delivery. Is it a problem that I come across overly passionate or judgmental? This is nice. I like this. Because, of course, I think that I probably come across like that more times than not myself. Because, when you become aware of the situation, and, we lived as non-Muslims, and you realize as a non-Muslim, man, you were in the fire. You were in the fire. Allah give you a chance to come out of the fire. So when you see people who are Muslims, they're not praying, they're not paying zakat. They got boyfriends and girlfriends, they're getting high, they're partying. Man, you're like, wow, wow, man, this is mad, it's scary, it's frightening. Because you know that these people are ignorant, but you know also that this ignorance can lead them to the fire. So, we have been told to speak to the people in a nice way. And that's what we should do. We should encourage them in a nice way. And one of those ways is to be kind to them. And the best invitation on the island for people, the one thing that no one who's a Muslim, even you see some, I met some Muslims say they believe in it, it's okay, is to invite them to Jannah. Read to them about Jannah. Talk to them about Jannah. Talk to them about how Jesus get to Jannah. Because if you hear about what you need to get to Jannah, it becomes clear about what's going to send you to hellfire. If you're not doing the things that's going to get you to Jannah, then you're doing the things that get you to hellfire. Okay. So you don't have to talk about the hellfire. Talk about the Jannah. People will listen to you. People want to, oh, what else? What else? Come on, tell us some more. Yeah, because to talk about Jannah is inspiring. It's exciting. Everybody wants to see themselves there. Everybody wants to see their friends and their families. We're talking about, when you say to people, we talk about Okay, you got old now. You're not gonna get old. You're not gonna get old. You know, women who become old now and still think they're beautiful, even though they look in the mirror and they admit that they're not anymore. So they're always going to be beautiful. They, in their mindset, they would think they're beautiful they were when they were young girls, but they're really going to be like that. Guys are talking about, yeah, man, I was young, I was a great athlete, you know, I had a great body like that. An example, you know, now I'm a little puffy in the middle like that. It's going to be like that. It's going to be like that, man. You understand? So this is like, people say, wow, really? I never get old. You mean I can change my face? I can look anywhere I want to look? Man, I'm ready. So what I have to do? Open the door. See, so talking about gender, don't talk about them. Don't talk. If somebody's not making salat, don't talk about salat. Somebody's not paying zakat, don't talk about zakat. He knows he's not paying zakat. He knows he's not making salat. He knows that. Talking about gender. That's my suggestion. The law. I am a perfectionist due to my profession as a creative designer or creative what? I feel I am always critical and anguished when things aren't as they should be. I am almost seeing myself falling into ungratefulness. I am making a real effort to stop myself, but I always catch myself falling. I'm worried that Allah will see my actions as being ungrateful for what He has given me in this life. Well, there's nothing wrong with being a perfectionist, but we can't be a perfectionist in relationship to other people. We have to be a perfectionist in relationship to ourselves and our relationship with Allah. Not this is the material thing. So the standard that we set, we can't impose that standard on other people. We can have very high standard for ourselves, push ourselves to reach a point of excellence, which is a great thing. But we cannot impose that on other people or look down on other people. We need to understand that people will fall in different ways, like in everything else in life. And we're not the judge. Allah's the judge. Allah's the judge. We're not the judge. We need to understand that. So we're going to be a judge. And we need to look at how will I use this talent for Allah's name? How will I use this talent to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? How will I use this talent to better myself, to make myself a better slave? And this, of course, is an admirable quality to seek this level of attainment in whatever you do in life. I mean, I've met people like this, and subhanAllah, you know, they're this detail, to the smallest detail. They got, you know, one of my friends, he's here now, and I knew him, you know, when we were non-Muslims, young men, 50 years ago, and that guy hasn't changed. He was the most meticulous man that I knew, and he's like, that's Muslim. So this can be a great, you know, attribute if you use it properly, if you're not careful. Don't let people, Shaitan, take you astray, look down at other people, or be judgmental of other people. Don't expect other people to be like that. Or don't expect other people to be on your level. And accept that. Accept them where they are. Don't put them down because of that. And thank Allah for giving you this capability. Everybody doesn't have that capability. It's an admirable quality, and test yourself. See if you're going to use that same kind of energy and dynamic to please Allah. That's the way you test yourself. If you're going to do it in your daily pursuits, worldly pursuits, fine. But are you going to be like that? Your worldly pursuits going to be like that. Your deen is going to be down here. So take your deen first and see if you can reach that peak One sister's asking if a couple would like to start a family of their own, how can they know that they are ready to take this step? Are there any indications they should pay attention to? Man, you know, one of the most beautiful experiences is having children, going through the process of having children and then raising children. Now, the process is it's complicated for the woman, right? But it is a very interesting thing for men. And I could tell you about it, men about it, all I want, but you will not understand it until you go through it. And when you go through it, you will understand how it impacts you and how it makes you more wholesome and more of a man. And people say, well, how does watching my wife go through what she goes through having childbirth make me more of a man? Because you have to have more compassion, number one. You have to be more, you have to work as a team. You have to be more supportive. You have to be more patient, and on and on and on to make it easy and comfortable for her. Because it's going to be uncomfortable for her. In many instances, you might feel helpless. You get like, what can I do? And she said, nothing, you can't do anything. You're like, what am I going to do? So it is an experience in itself. Just the whole phenomenon. Anticipation, anxiety about this child, what it's going to look like, what it's going to be like. It's going to look like you, it's going to look like your wife, it's going to look like your mom, it's going to look like your dad, like your grandfather, that kind of anticipation. It's going to be a boy, it's going to be a girl. And my suggestion, don't find out it's going to be a boy or a girl. It's more fun if you don't find out. It's going to be a boy, it's going to be a girl. Okay, an example, you're going to give thanks to Allah, it's going to be healthy, it's going to be smart, it's going to have the qualities of the mother, it's going to have the qualities of the father. All of these things for 9 months is going to be going through your mind, and then some. So that part of the experience is dynamic. And this helps to solidify the love in the heart you have for your wife, to the brothers, and brother, for your mother. Yes, you have more love and respect for your mother. Because before this, you have no recognition of what it is that she went through for the sake of you. When you see your wife go through this, you have more appreciation for your mom and more appreciation for you. It is a tremendous experience. And you can never understand it unless you take part. And that's all before the baby's born. Okay? After the child is born, it becomes another thing altogether. There's so many other points as you watch that child develop. There's so much there that's just, awesome. Things the child does, things the child says. You're like, where did that come from? Where did this baby, how did he or she, wow, just subhanAllah. Just those moments that are just irreplaceable. And if you haven't experienced it, like a lot of young people, well, we want to enjoy our life, and we want to travel, and we want to. I said, well, fine, if that's what you want to do, go ahead. So this is my suggestion, talk about it, husband and wife. Can you have children? What do you want to do with these children? What is, the direction you want them to take? How are you going to educate them? What educational system do you want to put them through? What is it that you want to guide them to become, what to do in their lives? Okay, an example. Where is it that you want to live to raise your children? Most of us expats here, so there are question marks about this. especially nowadays, a lot of question marks of what's going to happen in the future. A lot of things. So you need to sit down and talk about these things, and you need to ask other people who've gone through it, take their advices and pull them and see what is best for you. But you never regret it. A lot of young people, they become selfish about their own lives. They want to live their life. They want to enjoy. But there's another side to this. Who is going to pray for you when you die? What did we hear? Prophet ﷺ said, more or less, that this is one of your sadaqah jariyah, to leave a righteous child behind to pray for you. This is something that people today are not thinking about. The commander of Prophet ﷺ had many, many children. See, some of them as many as 70 children. Imagine that. Khalid bin Walid had 30 plus children. Imagine. And most of his sons, I think it's 16 to 17 sons, they all died except one in the plague in Syria. And the one son, who was the most like him, they assassinated him because they were afraid of him because he was the most like his father. So just imagine. So particularly among the Arabs understood this and believed this, and of course they have a long history, that this lineage is important. Maintaining the lineage is very important. You never before found an Arab, when you said, what's your name? He said, my name is Ahmed. Never. He's going to give you 4 or 5 names after that. This modern thing we see is nothing that the Arabs ever did in their history. So, and you've been told that every one of your children comes with his own risk. So the people say, well, you know, my job is like so-and-so. I can't afford to have all these kids. And how are we going to educate them, so forth and so on? Your child is born with his own risk. Remember that. Everyone is born with his own risk. And the same thing, how you educate them, into what order, that's on you. And you're accountable for them doing what? To know and have the proper knowledge about Allah. So go for it. Make the babies. We need as many babies as we can who are practicing this deen. The Prophet ﷺ wants to see more of his ummah on Yom al-Qiyamah than any other people. Striving to be productive and more beneficial to the community as a center. There are so many who need moral support and family. How can we create a product or a platform for this? That's an interesting question. Well, a platform for this, I think, would start by asking people who are interested in service to the community as a whole, and to get those people together in a brainstorming session. And in that brainstorming session, you know, sitting down and dealing with those issues that people need. And once we begin to look at those issues, which are common in our society, then we can put together a platform dealing with the needs of the people in the society, I think. I don't think that that's something very difficult to do. It just requires people to volunteer and make effort. So if people are willing to volunteer and make effort, then we can do it. The most important thing is people have to want to spend time. You have to sacrifice some of your time. You must. If you want change to come in your life, if you want to impact the society, you have to take some of your time. You must give some of your time to it. Someone was asking me earlier about spending time in the path of Allah. So this is part and parcel, spending time in the path of Allah. Alhamdulillah, jazakallah khair wa Allahu alam, and we hope that this was a productive, for me it was productive. I hope people got some benefit from it. And I'm going to continue on this particular platform. I don't really want to do a lot of talking. I want to inspire people, motivate people to start taking action, to come together with other people who share the same interest. And I think that that's important. Everyone should try to do that. If you don't know, to get in touch with us, and we'll try to refer to some people so people can start trying to make effort on the things that they're interested in, what they have skill sets in, and to work with other people who have the same ideas and concepts, and just work. Too much talk, we waste too much energy and too much time on other things. Barakallahu feek, wallahu alam, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.